Down in the workshop again today, and I've done a little job I've been meaning to do for a long time, and that is to sort out some kind of center cap for the steering wheel. So the steering wheel actually bolts to this, or bolts through it should I say. This is the plastic surround which goes with it. Some of them would have had a horn button in the middle of this. This center section on mine was completely missing, and I've got the horn which is actually on the indicator stalk. So I don't need it to be a horn, I just need something to put in there. So what I did was line the inside of that with a smear of Vaseline, turn it upside down, put it onto a board, and then filled it with polyurethane resin, which gave me a black, essentially plastic disc like that. And then on the other side, we've just sprayed it gloss black. My mother bought me a Triumph Spitfire Keyring just to put on the keys, but I've actually already got one. The car actually came with the original one, so I'm going to use the original one. So I've taken the keyring apart, ground the top edge off it, and then just mounted it onto this plastic plate. And then just by drilling a few holes and putting a few pop rivets in it, just for a little bit of decoration, we have something that I think, looks alright. And then that will sit, because it's cast from inside that, it'll be an absolutely perfect fit. We'll sit inside, and then you've got yourself a slightly custom, semi-interesting centre for the steering wheel. Of course, if I ever have an accident, I'm going to headbutt that, and I'm going to be left with the imprint of, 8 rivets in my forehead. But I can deal with that. Hopefully, the seatbelt will do its job, should it come to that. But yeah, I thought it was a little bit different.
Good old zoom. Anyway, enough tomfoolery. It's a nice sunny autumnal stroke winter day, which makes a nice change. We've had rain upon rain. Anyway, we're not here for the weather, are we? And excuse me, I'm sucking a sweet at the moment. I got a sore throat. No, it's not the Rona. Right, so where are we at with the car then? So, last time we were doing the bumpers and the lights. So all the lights are now working except for the reverse lights. I think the reverse switch on the gearbox is probably seen better days. To be fair, everything on this car has seen better days. I don't think there's a single component on this car which has actually worked. I've had to strip down and repair, or at least replace, every component so far. Great for a first project. So reverse lights, need to sort them out. Again, not too bothered about them, to be honest, for the moment. Semantics. My steering wheel's gone in. I think that looks quite nice with the new centre cap on it. Got my little Triumph logo on there, courtesy of my mother. Had to destroy her keyring, but I think it looks alright. With the obligatory pop rivets. But it's got that sort of look, hasn't it? Obviously carpets are back in now. The steering wheel, I had to tap out, there's 3 screws underneath that centre cap, and I had to tap them out to a modern M4 because I couldn't find the screws that actually went through that thread. Again, problem, as I've said before, with a car of this age, is that all the fittings on it are Imperial. And in the UK we tend to use mostly metric fittings nowadays. So finding old UNF screws and things aren't easy to come by. You can probably get them online, but it's easier just to drill it, tap it, and put a modern bolt in it. Less messing around. So that's done. The gear stick is now back in. So the problem I was having before with the gear stick is that the actual body of the gear stick, the knob if you like, just became loose all the time. There's a nut that tightens it down over the top of the shaft, and it was always getting loose. So I actually had to put a split washer on it, and I had to make a tool to actually get it down, which looks a bit like this. So it's a bit of aluminium bar, and you see it's got those 2 little teeth on the bottom edge there, because the nut has a slot in the top designed for a flathead screwdriver. The problem, of course, is that the nut actually goes down past the top of the thread. So at that point you can't use a screwdriver anymore, so you need something hollow. So that's what that is. It's very crude, but it works. Clamp it down over the top, stick a screwdriver through the hole, and just torque it up. And that seems to work quite well, so happy with that. Bled the clutch through properly using an actual proper self-bleed kit, so you don't get that little return jolt of air when you if you're trying to do it on your own. And it goes forwards and backwards nicely, so I'll insert a little video now. Well, we're sort of getting towards the end, which is nice. I keep putting off the doors, and we we will get around to the doors. I keep forgetting I've got to do the doors actually. Got the two pieces of rear trim in there, which need to go on the next to the wheel wells. They can go in at any point. I need to tidy up the rest of the dash. It's only held in with a couple of sort of finger tight screws at the moment. So if you grab hold of the dash and shake it, it shakes. And I need to tidy up inside the passenger side there, because we've still got the wiring for the cigarette lighter, the map light, etc. So that just needs all sort of tidying, putting up out of the way. And today we're going to do the headlights. Again, another one of those jobs I've been putting off for a while. Trying to sort of get my head around how the headlights all sort of go together. And now I think I've got it. So what I'll do now, I'll get these doors open, we'll get the car outside, and I'll show you what I mean. Right, so our headlight is essentially made up of 5 pieces. There is a rubber gaiter, which is missing, which again I'm not going to bother with, because mine's never going to get driven in the wet. And it's going to be bolted up nice and tight. But you've essentially got 5 parts here. You've got the light cowling, you've got the light bucket, you've got the sort of half bucket adjuster, you've got the chrome bezel, and you have the light itself. So it took a bit of head scratch until I got this one figured out, but I think I've pretty much got it now. So the first thing you have is your actual bucket. This is the, what the light sits in essentially. And this bucket, you'll notice, as well as the holes in the corners for actually mounting it to the body of the car, also has 2 screws. And these are the adjuster screws. So when we mount this, we need one in the vertical position and we need one in the horizontal position. This gives you the ability to adjust your headlights. So it will go in the car like this. If I wanted to use it on the other side, it would have to go in like this. And you've got the hole at the bottom there for the wiring loom to go through. So one screw needs to be in the vertical position and one screw needs to be in the horizontal position. Pretty straightforward, right? This is the actual ring that the headlight itself sits in. It doesn't sit in the bucket. The bucket is just there to sort of cap it off from the back and provide a mounting point. The headlight actually sits in this, because this is the adjustable part. You'll notice it has these 2 cut out sections, one there and one there. And what they do is those 2 cutouts, trying to do this with one hand, over those 2 screws. There's a little collar on the very top of the screw there. You can see it sits between that washer and the screw head. So obviously if you were to tighten that screw up, it would pull that edge down and therefore adjust the light in that direction. And the same with the top. So that's the orientation. 1 screw on the left, 1 screw on the top. And that is your adjustment. Pretty straightforward. So your light bulb then sits in this, like so. Sorry, I've only got 2 hands. I should really set this up on a tripod. And then our chrome ring, so we have these holes here, 1, 2, and 3, line up with 1, 2, 3. And that actually holds the glass in the bowl, if you like. And there we go. That's pretty much it. And then obviously the cowling goes on the outside to cover the whole thing up and make it look nice and tidy. Okay, so back at the front of the car. Now, These light bowls are from an MG, not from a Triumph. I stole these from a friend who's got a midget in pieces, because mine were corroded. I had one metal, one plastic, and they weren't very good. And the holes don't really line up. If I put, again, we have to align it so that this adjuster screw is in the vertical and the horizontal position. I apologise for the light flare off the paintwork. And if we have those screws, so they're sat in those relative positions, it doesn't line up particularly well. There's no hole for that one. There's no hole for that one, and this one doesn't line up too well either. You can see the black dot I put in there with a marker pen. So yeah, there we go. So that's now sat back as it should. So you can see my dots I've made on here. So we're not going to mess around with it. We're just going to drill those out. I could put some nuts and bolts in there, although I'm not sure I have any nuts and bolts small enough, so I may even just rivet it in there. I guess see if I've got some long rivets. If I ever want to take it out again, I can drill it out, it's no problem. I know you shouldn't really rivet things into cars, but you know. Yeah. Right, anyway, enough amusing. Holes drilled, rivets inserted. Someone out there now is dying inside going, oh my god, I can't believe you're riveting it on. You know. Yeah, whatever. Get it on. There's nothing you can do that you can't undo. You know, if I get it on, I find it's wrong or whatever, I can just drill the rivets out. It takes 5 seconds, so nothing to get in a twist over. Right, there we go. Crank these rivets off. First bucket in place. Right, let's get the adjuster on. Okay, so the adjustment bowl is now hooked onto the vertical and horizontal adjusters. Bulb sat in it. Chrome bezel which holds the bulb to that is in. I didn't have the original screws that went through this bezel. I've just used wood screws, but they seem to have gone in okay. They're a little bit on the long side, but I've drilled a small hole under here just to allow the excess of the screw thread to go into there, rather than cut the screws down. Could do either, but either way, that's in there nice and tight. So now, just need to figure out how that goes on. Looking at it, it's got a screw hole there, a screw hole there, and a screw hole there. I say screw hole, threads for bolts, which clearly go through the bottom corner there. There should be a hole there. There isn't. One through into the side here, which there is. And then one up through the bottom, and again no hole there. So I know this bonnet has had some work done to it by the previous owner, so I'm guessing these parts are all replacement, and therefore they don't have the holes. So I suppose what I'm going to have to do is offer it up, see how it fits, and then sort of measure it and work out where the holes need to be drilled. This is going to be a ball ache, I just know it. I just know it's not going to fit in there properly either. Okay, so anyway, first let's get on with it. Snag is a couple of little slots here, which are designed to ride over that lip on the bowl. There's your slot, and it's meant to go in here and then twist around, or vice versa, go in here and twist around to sort of lock that bezel in place. The problem, of course, now is because I haven't used a rubber gasket behind this, in here, it's now too far back that way, which means that when you line it up, it wants to come in much closer to the edge here. So rather than drill the rivets out, start from scratch, put a rubber gasket in behind, all I'm going to do is just profile these out a little bit, cut them out a little bit more so they ride over that. They're going to be bolted in place anyway, so it's not like, you know, I'm going to weaken it or it's going to bounce around. It's still going to be bolted in. So I do need to wet sand these as well, which I'm going to do now. I hand painted these with some automotive paint. I didn't want to be bothered to load up a spray gun just to do 2 bezels, so these are hand painted, and whilst they probably look okay on camera, there are runs and stuff in the paint. So I'm going to wet sand these first of all, and then profile those grooves out a little bit. Right, that's the first one done. It's not lined up perfectly, and I do need to touch up a little bit of the paint on the corner there where it's chipped, but yeah, it's in. As I say, it's not the best fit in the world. There is a bit of a gap around the top here, but I can't seem to do anything about that, unfortunately. Hey ho, there we go. One headlights. Two headlights. What a palaver that was. Wouldn't be so bad, but I installed the headlights and then forgot to put the bulbs in. So I had to take all the shrouds off again and put the wiring and the bulbs in. There we go, live and learn. Yeah, apologies for the absolute blackness in this shot, but after much tinkering and soldering and putting new connectors on, I think I finally got to the bottom of the lights. So we're just going to give it a quick check just to make sure everything works. Hence why I'm doing it in the dark. So let's see if I can do this in the dark. So first of all, side lights. Where's my switch? It's here somewhere. There it is. Okay. So first of all, we have the dash instruments working. You can see we have both side lights at the front. And we have both rear lights and the number plate lights. Cool. One down. Okay, then we'll switch to dip beam at the front. Nice and bright. And the rear lights are still on. Then we throw it forward to full beam, bing, back to dips, and then pull back for our flashers. Okay, so far so good. So let's turn those lights off and check our hazards. Two flashing at the front and two flashing at the back. I'm going to call that a win.
Right, so we're finally taking the plunge and we're going to get these doors done. It's been long enough. So, got all the bits in the back of my van. My nice little van on a T4. This is the good door. As you can see, there's a little bit of rust along the bottom edge here, so I'm going to grind that back, see how bad it is, and if we have to weld a replacement strip along the bottom, then we will do. The top edge of it is okay. And not that you can see it in this light, but the inner edge there is okay as well. So the other door is down in the workshop. So I've got one door that's complete, which I can use for a guide for when it comes to putting this one back together. Obviously I've got all the runners and all the bits and bobs in the boxes and all the mechanism, and we've got the glass there as well. So sling it all in the van now, and then tomorrow I can start to reassemble the new door based off the old door. Then once the new door is all together, I can take the old door apart, give that a good clean on the inside, etc., and clean it all out. But it's good to have one to use as a guide. Hopefully all the bits and bobs are there. We'll soon find out. So for now, turn this bad boy off. And we'll keep the old van ready for tomorrow.